Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Shit Moms Won't Say. My guest tonight is the queen of all things beauty and goop. Yes, that goop. Legendary beauty writer and journalist turned beauty director at Goop and mom of two, Jean Godfrey-June. Midday filming. Welcome to my show, Midday Filming.
Midday filming, so good.
I love it. So good. So good. Well, we were just joking. We have to schedule pockets of time to pee. So I'm very honored that you've scheduled your peeing pocket and your Shit Moms Won't Say pocket neck and neck. That's a real honor.
It's so funny because when I had little kids, I had a friend who was like, wow, you really don't have time to go to the bathroom, do you?
No, not at all. I was with my daughter. I have a 2-year-old. We have a big difference in our age children. You have older children. Yeah. I have a 2-year-old, and my wife is expecting. She had her glucose test this morning. So I was on like full-time mom duty in addition to full-time work duty, in addition to full-time Shit Moms Won't Say duty. And I got home from our morning out together and I was like, I haven't peed in like 5 hours.
It's so true. And that glucose just hits you.
You're fine. And then you're just like, I'm going to pee in my pants. So yeah. Super fun. Before we get into the Big Mom 3, this is something you're not aware of, but I will send it to you for your review. Do you know that Shit Moms Won't Say did a whole video on Goop a few months ago?
No. Oh my gosh. So good or so terrifying?
I love Goop. I love Gwyneth Paltrow. I love the whole thing. My production assistant loves to create these videos where she just puts me on the spot for things because I'm sort of a Neanderthal and know very little about very many things. I know nothing. That's who I am. So she's like, I'm going to give you all these Goop products and I want you to guess the prices of them.
Oh, so good. Okay.
I did terribly. Specifically on the bread lamp. I really, really failed.
Oh, the bread lamp was a very special thing.
that was something you guys put a price to, huh? So I loved it though. It was so fun. I got to learn so much about it. But anyway, we'll chat Goop in a few minutes, but I want to get into the Big Mom 3 because, we always do it, but I'm extra excited because your kids are older. So you told me
they're
19 and
24 and 19.
So they're adults. You have adult
kids. It's a total cliche that it goes fast. It's a total cliche, but it is so true. Like I feel like, 2 years old was yesterday.
Crazy. But at least now you can like take a day to when your calendar's not crazy to like watch TV and it doesn't have to be Cocomelon.
That's true.
That's nice.
Although I have some opinions on that too.
Well,
here it is. That when my kids were little, I was driving in the car and I started listening to, I was playing like kid music. And I was like, I hate this kid music. I'm gonna have to listen to this until I'm like freaking 11. My kids are 11. And then I was like, why don't I just play music I like? And it really is a good approach. People are like, kids have to eat kid food and have kid shampoo and kid this and kid that. And it's like, why not have them like what you like to some degree?
It's true. My daughter listens to a lot of Alanis Morissette.
My kids unfortunately got a little Howard Stern along with their classical music.
A little Howard. Listen, born and raised New Yorker, there's nothing wrong with a little Howard. You got to start him young. I love it. All right, let's get into the Big Mom 3. So these are, big curveball questions. It's gonna, your whole day is gonna be set off by these, I'm sure.
Okay.
So first question in the Big Mom 3: did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
No, I did not. In fact, I got married really early, like right out of college, and my now ex-husband was just super hot to have kids. And for 10 years, I fought him off. And I was just like, and he was always like, oh, let's, we need to have kids. And I wanted to have a career. I wanted to, and I didn't think I was that maternal. And then when we'd been married for 10 years, I felt like I had to give in. So I was like, well, we just have to make this one deal that, we'll never move out of New York City. I'll have a baby if we'll never move out. And I lasted in New York for like a year and a half after I had my first kid. Then we moved out. So, and it all turned out really well. And I ended up being a single mom pretty much for most of the time. So, whatever maternal thing that I thought I didn't have, I really did have. And it's been like, it sounds so cheesy, but like it's been the joy of my life by far. Best thing I ever did. And I really didn't, I was kind of like, I'm not such a kid person, but very different when I guess it's your kids and it's your life and you're in it.
Well, it's such a load of shit too, right? Like when people, like everybody expects mothers to be like a certain way, very maternal, very warm.
Yeah.
I don't fit in that bucket. And like my kid's my favorite person on the planet,
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, definitely. And
they're yours.
They're yours. And I think, people have this simultaneous view of that that women all are like, oh, I want to have a baby. And, now I see people with a baby or a 2-year-old and I'm like, oh, really great time in life, really hard time in life. Don't really want to go back there.
No, I said to my wife the other day, I was like, I hope this doesn't come out mean. And she was like, oh no, like, what is it? And I said, I'm really happy that you're pregnant right now. And I'm happy that after this baby is born, we never have to think about having a baby again.
It's a very good.
We can just move forward with life. We can just keep moving forward and we never have to be like, are we going to get pregnant? Are we going to do this? It's done. We're never doing it again. It's done. Check, done. Okay. Yeah. Second question, the Big Mom 3. And with older kids and as a single mom, I'm curious about this one. I don't have a lot of single parents on here. And I love when I have a mom because you really had to like do the damn thing.
You definitely do.
Do it. What is the shittiest or most backhanded like comment or piece of advice you've ever gotten from another mother or parent in general?
Oh, backhanded. I know it. There was like,
the list goes on and on and on. I know.
I live in a very crunchy town, so a lot of the moms didn't work. It's not like super wealthy or something. It's not that kind of not working, but definitely you have to have enough money not to work. In any case, I was working in magazines at the time at Lucky, and I had a mom say, she was like, so I guess, you just must be more materialistic than the rest of us, that like, you're willing to leave your kids. Like, that I was like, I just do this job just for fun. Just cause I want to, that was definitely it.
That would have been a good moment for you to be like, do you know who I am?
that would have really gone over. But that was definitely the backhanded.
Bizarre. And you know what drives me nuts? And I've said it on here before, like the working mom thing, because you don't say working dad.
You don't know.
There's no differentiation, right? So you don't say, there's no different, like we just work. People work. If you want to work and you love what you do, you work. Some people are not fortunate enough to love what they do, but you're just working. You're just a working person.
You're still just working. Yes. For whatever reasons that people work, which is mostly to make a living.
Of course. And if you happen to enjoy it, great. And if you don't, then you can still afford to live in your house and that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's.
Yeah. I hate that. Oh, I hate that. It gives me like, because I know right after you and I are done filming, I'm going right in. I know you are too, right into another meeting. And there's some bitch out there that's like, I don't think that's right.
Oh, yeah. They're like, I guess that's your choice. Go ahead.
You're like, I'm a single mother. Big choice to work or not work.
Yeah.
Crazy. God, women are bitches. All right. Third question of the Big Mom 3. What is a skill or superpower you had before becoming a mom that you think has really helped you as a mom?
Let's see. Skill or superpower I had before becoming a mom, because I feel like the superpower I got like it sort of evolved as I was being a mom.
Listen, there are very few rules on this show, so you just answer it however you want to answer it.
Well, I think I came to parenthood the way a lot of us, I think, are socialized to, which is that like, you're this person who's here to help the person, you're going to make sure they get the right lessons, and they, you're going to mold who they are. You're going to shepherd them through life. You're doing this very altruistic thing and sort of controlling the other person. And I think it's wrong. And I sort of came to it. I think it's kind of my kids' personalities. It's also, sort of friends I had that really took a lot of joy in my kids when they were little. That your kids are actually there, in a certain way, it's for you. It's if you enjoy them and like in the moment you're enjoying them, those are times that, if you're lucky enough to make it to the nursing home, you're going to be replaying those moments over in your head over and over and over again. It's not that you're there for your kids to like help them. Of course, you're going to help your kids, but the sort of more macro thing is that they're there for you. And that, I had a thought kind of early on, like, it's kind of like seeing a rare whale or something, seeing your kid at this particular age. Not very many people are going to see it, especially when they're like 1 and 2, that like there's not that many people that get to see that. And you do, if you look. But if you're so focused on like, okay, now we're going to do X, of course we have to do that as parents, but to really like always be enjoying it, and not it, but enjoying the person that you see in front of you. And when they tell you, like this is who I am, it's always surprising. I mean, the way my kids turned out, like who they turned out to be, they were always like, oh yeah, you didn't know this about me, and it's like you're really getting to know someone, and it, without the self-presentation that most people bring to a relationship. A child is just being who they are if you let them.
That's a really cool take on that. I've never had anybody answer that way. I like that a lot. I think you're right. Like, because your kids, they learn to be authentic from you. So if you're like, and not like, you have to do all the things, right? You're right. You have
to make dinner. Yeah.
Right. You have to feed them. You have to clothe them. And like for a period of time, you have to pick their clothes because they're incapable.
Yeah.
Like when they're able to do their own thing, like to enjoy your kid doing their own thing is so fun. Like, my daughter's so weird. She's such a little weirdo. And like, if I'm going to force her to do something else, I'm discouraging her weirdness. I want her to be a little weirdo. It's so fun. I love that. That's so true.
Yeah. And I think it ends up making you realize, whenever you're talking to a person, you could sort of stay in whatever role you're in or whatever, or you could just get to know them and, you'd have a more rich experience of life. I think it sort of rubs off in life a little bit. It's not as intense as it is with your kids, but I think that having them definitely developed that in me.
Like enjoying people for who they are and like where they are.
Yeah. And just not trying to always control every moment. I think it's, we certainly, when you have something as stressful as having a kid and trying to manage that, you can just be like, how am I going to control this? And it's like, you can have boundaries for sure and be like, yeah, no, you can't pee in the middle of the floor anymore. But it's not having boundaries, but it is going, this little person being like, I mean, I remember my daughter, I'm a beauty editor. I would have, I always had like a jillion lipsticks, and, most people's kids would like start putting on lipstick and playing, and she turned them into soldiers and like had them like be warring factions.
Awesome.
And it's just, let the
person. I love that. I love that your daughter didn't give a shit about like using the makeup. She's like, no, we're creating a war scene here, mommy. Thank you.
She still doesn't. Well, then it's like, that's who she is.
Love it. So let's chat about Goop a little bit, because you've had, let's use a big word. You've had an illustrious career. You've done some pretty cool shit, like, the JGJ name, like people know who you are. They're like, this woman has done her shit. She's a beauty editor. She's a writer. She's a journalist. Like, you are sort of synonymous with all things beauty products and all things beauty. And now you found yourself with the one and only Gwyneth Paltrow at Goop as their beauty director. So, I think a lot of people, and obviously like Love, Sex and Goop has just come out on Netflix and there's all of these very cool things going on. I think, personal opinion, I think some people think that Goop is a cult. I think they don't realize that Goop is like this very legitimate and very cool business that just has their hands in all different things because they're trying to bring out the best in all different industries. So like where you're sitting in sort of the beauty and like health area, I would love to understand like, what's a typical day at Goop like for you? And maybe that's a silly question because maybe it's different every day. I don't know.
It is very, I mean, doing any kind of writing, it's always different every day because you're writing about something else and you're talking to a different person and you're, but certainly since COVID has changed. But even before COVID, most of Goop is in LA. So I'm in New York. So I did a lot of remote work anyway. We have a New York office and that hasn't reopened yet. But I used to go there twice a week and the rest of the time I'd be just at home working. So I didn't have such a hard time adjusting to COVID. But so a typical day, yeah, it's hard to say. I'm writing this article about, I definitely cover beauty the most, but I also cover home. And then like today I was working on a thing we do every couple of months called Goop 15, where it's like an editor roundup of all our favorite things that are happening in the month. And so I'm, some of the time I'm like everyone else, I'm on Zoom meetings or else I'm writing. Those are my two things. And my challenge, like everyone else on earth at the moment, is how to balance that. I think working at home, you tend to work too much. So building in like exercise is like a big thing for me. And just even going for a walk, even if it's not like a major exercise moment, just exposing yourself to light and
and you have your ficus tree, you're getting like some goodness in there.
Yes. Yeah. I have a lot of plants in this corner, that is for sure. But yeah, just trying to keep the balance between life and work is I think more of a challenge for everybody now.
It's hard to turn it off and stuff. I didn't know on like your Google Calendar, and again, like I said, I'm sort of a Neanderthal. I know very little things. You could put in your working hours. I didn't know that.
Good idea.
I didn't know that. I was told that today. Someone scheduled a meeting for me at like 6:30 tonight, and I was like, all right, I'll go. And then she was like, hey, I think that's outside of like when you should probably be working. Why don't you put in your working? I was like, my what?
My working hours. That's a good, I mean, that would be tough at Goop because most everybody is on the West Coast. And that's always my challenge. Yeah. In the morning, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get ahead. And I get up, early and like work. But then at 10 o'clock at night, people are like, oh, tell me about this thing. So
what'd you do at 7 o'clock this morning? And you're like, well, now I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
I hear you. My company's on the West Coast. It's tough. So, and now it's sort of like part two of this, right? Like, so I want to talk about Goop. I also want to know, cause like you have a daughter and a son, right? You have a girl.
Yeah.
They like, and I always love asking moms this, especially moms that are like a little bit in the public eye and like have, experiencing like this type of world. Do they like think what you do is very cool?
No. Definitely not. They're always like,
okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, they're always like, oh, mom and Goop, like, and we have a joke in my family, like boyfriend made it up, but everyone adheres to it. I know a little about a lot of things also, particularly like science and health things. I'm in no way a scientist. I come from a family of scientists and they actually have degrees and I in no way know anything. But I'm very interested in, all these topics. And so there's a lot that I talk about that they all refer to as Gene University. And I'm like, we're like at Gene University, they believe bone broth is very good for your gut. So everybody sort of has a light. I mean, what sort of the culture thinks of Goop, oh, they're kind of crazy, da, 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 probably my kids have that feeling a little also. But affectionate, not like,
Sure.
And, the larger culture, like, Goop is a cult. If Gwyneth Paltrow were male, no one would think that at all. They'd be like, oh, it's this great
damn person.
There used to be, magazines. There aren't magazines anymore quite the way they were. There's great stores, and a lot of those great stores aren't what they were. And look, this smart man has combined them both.
That is so true. That's so true.
If there were, if you think about men who talk about alternative health, like, like way much more quacky than, I think of, Dr. Oz has had a magazine. Now, apparently he's going to be a Republican politician, but,
good for him.
But he's had a magazine, and, like whatever, people are not like, oh, that crazy guy, I think there's like there's so much misogyny in the crazy goop thing. And also, the other thing is that Gwyneth is really, one of the most inspiring things about working with her is she really just wants things to be better. She wants to be better. She'll go to therapy and examine something. She'll try some new thing, and if you look back at some of the things that she got completely slammed for in the culture, I remember a long time ago, she got slammed for doing cupping. She went to some event,
yes.
And you could see the cups on her back, and people were just like, that is lunacy. And then I don't know if you remember when Michael Phelps, the swimmer, did it. Everybody was like, look, he's trying alternative therapies. When she got divorced, she was like, we'll do, conscious uncoupling, which is essentially getting along for the sake of your kids and not having a huge drama. And people were like, this is crazy, and now everyone tries to do that. And so I feel like she's taught me a lot about, it's very hard not to care what other people think of you. But she gets so much thrown at her, like just all the time. And I think she really, realizes that it isn't her. It's a lot her gender,
That makes a ton of sense. It really does. I'm a huge Goop fan. I think it's like one of the most incredible businesses to have been built in my lifetime. Like I look at it, I'm like, this is one of the smartest things that's ever existed. But you kind of hear other people's opinion on it. And I remember when we did our, sort of funny little Goop video, people were like, oh yeah, Goop. And I was like, no, you're not hearing, like, Goop's amazing. Like, I'm dumb. Goop is very cool. Like, Goop's very cool. But yeah, you're so spot on about that. It's totally misogynistic. I never even thought of it that way.
It's just, if you imagine if she were, a man, and like a hugely famous man that started a business that then became really successful, you'd be like, wow, that guy can do everything. And instead you're like, who does she think she is? She's elite and pretty, and it makes me mad,
Right. She's too pretty, and she's too nice, and she's too smart, and we hate that.
And if she were hideous, they'd be like, she's too hideous. Like it doesn't matter.
Right. Who is she to run a beauty anything? Yeah. Oh, you're so right. Oh, now I'm all mad about it. Well,
there's a woman that I have talked to on my podcast, and we've done stories on her, called Katie Storino. And she's like a body size activist. She also runs this great brand called Mega Babe that makes like deodorant and stuff. And she's amazing. And she said this one thing to me once that just explained a lot as far as I was concerned, which she was just like, she's like, she was talking about size, and she was like, with size, there's no destination. She's like, there's no size you could be that would be okay. If you're thin, you're too thin, or you're not thin enough. If you're fat, you're too fat or not fat enough. Like there's no time when you could just give up thinking about that as a woman, unless you just gave it up. And I kind of think it's the same thing with sort of like, being any kind of figure who's female.
It's never enough either way.
Yeah, whatever it is. Are you too smart? Are you too dumb? Are you, pretty? Are you not pretty? Like it's all, there's this continuum, but there's no goal you could reach and you'd be okay.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, and listen, that's why it's very cool that somebody with that sort of attitude works in the beauty world, right? Because I feel like you probably see often that that's not the case a lot of times, so like for you to have that attitude in the beauty world of like, you're enough just as is, here's just some like tips and things, is great.
Well, people are beautiful and they find each other beautiful unless they're sort of trained not to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally. Well, thank you. That was so insightful. Thank you. Let's start to wrap it up. And we'll, of course, we'll talk about social media and where everybody can find you in a minute. But I have two final questions.
Yeah.
So this one, and again, I love the age of your kids for this question, because your answer is going to be so different than from what my answer would be. With your kids at their current ages, what is something you could not live without as a mother?
Well, I have to say, the iPhone, being able to text is so different than when I was 19 or 24. When I was 19 or 24, I maybe spoke to my parents maybe once a week, maybe. And, being able to maintain that relationship, whether sometimes we'll pick up the phone, but a lot of times it's like sending a funny text or, my kids, we have a cat that they love, and that cat like really bound us together through all kinds of, all the different troubles that we faced. And whenever they're feeling down, they text me and they're like, send me a picture of the cat. And just being able to it's not like I need advice, please come talk to me, which is great when that happens, but that's more rare. But just knowing you could make somebody happy by sending them a picture of your cat. The old iPhone has a lot of, it's destroyed our society, but also it does have some pluses. And I like that age. I think that's a huge thing. And then just the continuing, I think around, especially college age, we have this panic in our culture that's similar to when they're really little and they're getting started, like with school and stuff, that they're gonna get into the right school, and if they don't do the right this, then this domino effect is going to affect their whole life, and it's just total bullshit. It's people. I always tell people there's a Malcolm Gladwell article. Anybody who has a kid anywhere near college should read it. It's 2 pages long in the New Yorker about a study where they looked at people that went to Ivy League schools and then state schools, but they both went to both. And then they looked at their success 40 years out, and their success included where were they, how much money did they make? Where were they in their company, but also were they married? Did they have kids? All these different metrics of success. And they were exactly the same, and people think that if you go to this place, you'll meet this person and everything will change. And it's not. The reason that somebody from Harvard does great is because they're a great person, and they could just as well be going to University of California or whatever it is. They're still going to make their way in the world in a very similar way. And they're not going to, so that whole panic and pressure and misery about you better set up your life because you've got to get everything in place. It's not how life is.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's great. Here's my final question. And this one does actually throw people off. So let's see.
Okay.
But you've been very good with your I got this shit. So let's see.
Okay.
What is something you know now that you wish you knew before becoming a mom?
The thing that it's something that I knew when I was a mom, but I ignored, which is, and I shouldn't have. I had a friend, I had heard her father was a very famous director, and every year when his kids had a birthday, he interviewed them on camera. And I was like, I should do that. I should I should do that. That'd be incredible to have if you could look back at yourself, at age 5 and what did you think about, the world and whatnot. And I didn't do that. And I didn't really film my kids that much, even though, there was an iPhone for part of their being kids. I wish that I had. I have a few little snippets. I have my 9-year-old son expounding on something, and I treasure those. And people, I have pictures and I love those, but I wish I'd really taken videos, and I wish I'd done the interviewing thing.
That's a great idea. Have you seen, and this is something I keep saying, I'm going to do it, and I haven't done it yet. People will set up an email address just for their kids to open when they're like 18, and they just send stuff to it over the years. So
oh, that's so cool.
Letters. And as you're saying this, I was like, all right, after that, you should really do it already. Because we take pictures and videos of her doing everything, and you want to remember that little voice sounded just like this when she was 2, and then she did this weird thing when she was 8. But it's hard. Parents don't have enough on their plate, and you want to be able to create these memories for them that they can see. That's I think an easy enough way to do it.
That is an easy way to do it. Cause everything also gets loaded. I had, when my daughter was a baby, she went through this phase where when she was falling asleep, she sounded like she was having a conversation, but she wasn't, she wasn't using real words. So it'd be like, oh, and my friend was like, you have to record that. And we recorded it, but it was on one of those tiny tape recorders. I don't know how we would ever, so yeah. The filming and the recording, I would do more of it.
Big one. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you on social media? What do you want people to check out? Tell me.
Oh, well, check out oldgoop.com. There's lots that I write on there, but there's also a million other really talented writers and editors that make, you can learn about everything from, your relationship to, toxins in your pans to, beauty products that I love, clean beauty products that I love. And, and I'm mostly not on any other social media besides Instagram, which is at Jean Godfrey-June. So that's where I can be found most of the time. And some of the time we're on a hiatus right now, but we have Megan O'Neill and I, my coworker, have a podcast, called the Goop Beauty Closet. That's a Goop production. The Goop podcast is amazing. The one with Gwyneth and a woman named Erica Cheedy. She's really incredible.
Very cool. All of the Goop stuff is incredible. You're incredible. And thank you so much for being here. Again, I appreciate you scheduling me next to your pee time. It's very much appreciated. Now both of us can go take a small pee break and then get right back to work.
Right back in.
We're going to go right back to our Zoom culture work. But it was so nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for watching Shit Moms Won't Say. We'll see you next week.